Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Pod Snipe Celly, episode 30 of the show. Joel, you are back this week. Welcome back, buddy. How was your trip to Vegas?
Hello there. It was fantastic. I don't really think I'm tan anymore. You can't really tell, but
Not
it
really. It's
was.
kind of dark.
That's probably the light.
Your face is dark with the lighting in your apartment. Is all. That's
Viva
you gotta get a ring
Italia.
light.
I eventually, yes. No, it was a blast. I went with my mom. It was a blast. Had some drinks. Went to Hell's Kitchen, which was absolutely the best meal of my life, and nothing will ever top it.
I would certainly hope it would be. That's a goal of mine, is to go out there and get to one of those Hell's Kitchen restaurants.
You would love how they serve you their old fashioned. They served it in a smoke box, smoked in real cherry wood, and then they open it up and it just like blasts you with this. It's amazing.
Sweet.
I'm in. But did some gambling. Went 3-0 on my sports bets out there, and doing the traditional way, backed off of the app style and just went up to the counter at the sports book and did some hockey bets, watched some of the playoffs out there in the sports book.
And you did one of those as a live bet too. You took the Avalanche at they were plus money when you took them too, because they were losing.
I did.
Right?
They were down 2. I wanted to go up to the counter when they were down 2-1. Yeah, and
came back and won, and we know the result there. So yeah, that was a good hit, good live betting.
Yeah, and then the other, we'll get into it, but then the other bet I hit on was a 2. It wasn't even a parlay; it was just 2 straight bets. I did. I took. What was it? I took the Oilers to finish the series, and I took the over as well. Right? Or was it what game was it? I think.
No. You wouldn't have taken the Oilers.
I'm sorry. It was the Rangers.
There you go.
I took the Rangers to win the series that night to kill off the series in Game 7, and I took the over.
There you go. So yeah, a successful trip to Vegas. You had good food. You made some money. Good times.
Yeah, exactly. It was a blast. I am happy to be back. I missed everyone except for you, but
no, that sounds about right. That's on brand.
Just kidding. I missed you, buddy.
Missed you on the show last week. It was
I listened. You did a damn good job by yourself.
It was fun to do a solo show, but yeah. I don't want to make a habit of it. That's tough. And I know there are some people who that works for them. They do solo shows for a bulk of their content. That is tough to do. So I have mad respect for anybody who does that on a consistent basis.
I commend you for doing it. Thank you for doing it while I was on an airplane as you did it. But I listened to it. You did a damn good job, man. Everybody get some love in the comments, guys.
I sure tried. You do what you can.
Get some love in the comments. You did a damn good job last week. Let's go.
Yeah, we got some people starting to tune in here, so we love that. As a reminder, we are a live show. We are streaming on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter right now. If you have something you want to share with us throughout the show, a prediction, a take that you want to share, who your pick is to win the Stanley Cup. The Colorado Avalanche have already punched their ticket. We'll talk more on that in a moment. And then later on in the show, Rangers Lightning. That series is everything we were hoping for and more in that one. Really some incredible hockey being played there. But we'd love to hear from you. Drop it in the comments. We'll put it up on the screen throughout the show. And we'll kind of let the audience run with things here. We've got our own things that we want to cover, but if you have something you want to share, by all means, let us know, and we'll get things going here.
Hell yeah,
Joel! To start off the show, let's talk about that Avalanche sweeping the Oilers last night. The Oilers really kind of blowing it in that one, a 3-1 lead going into the third period, giving up 4 goals in the third at home, losing in overtime. You have Leon Draisaitl, 4 assists, playing on half a leg, and just dominating everybody. He at 25% is better than the rest of us at 100, but it wasn't enough. The Avalanche really taking it to Edmonton throughout the series. You had picked the Oilers to win in 7, and I got to give you a little bit of a hard time about that one. What is your initial reaction and takeaway from the series?
This is honestly what I kind of was expecting to be. Not a sweep. I thought maybe the Oilers could at least steal one, and I thought
picked the Oilers to win the whole thing.
Look, I need to clarify what I said last week. I did. I was in Vegas mode. You can quote me. You can show people the text that I sent you. I was in Vegas mode.
I'm gonna go look it up right now.
I had just watched the Oilers end their series while I was in Vegas, and they just looked so damn hot. And I kind of had the Vegas mindset of they are on a heater right now, and I think they can take that momentum and roll with it. Only because then, when the Avalanche, I watched them end their series out there as well. The first day I got there, first day I got there, and the Avalanche did end the series against the Blues, but they just looked like they were just slowing down, and they really started to seem like they were turning into that playoff Avalanche we've come to know over the last 3, maybe 4 playoff seasons, right? That was the only reason why I was like, you know what? I'm doing it for the bit. I'm doing the Oilers for the bit in this case. Let's do them in 7. Realistically, though, I kind of knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, I have your text right here. You said, I'm coming off of a Vegas mood, and that's exactly what the Oilers are doing. They're riding one hell of a heater, and I think it continues through this round. No, so,
let's just say that heater, they rolled snake eyes as soon as they got to this round.
Well, they rolled snake eyes 4 in a row, and it was, it was over quick. It was, me going to the blackjack table in one play, and I'm done. That was what it was for.
That's literally impossible, but all right.
and what was that? Sorry,
it's literally impossible, but all right.
I mean, you could, but yeah, go all in on one hand at your first hand at the blackjack table, and then you're done. I mean, it could happen.
Well, you wouldn't bust on one card.
Well, no, one hand. You know what I'm saying. But I was really kind of surprised that it was as quick as it was. I said Avalanche in 5 and thinking that the games were going to be relatively close. And I mean, we did have a couple of close games in the series. Granted, one of them was 8-6. One of them was 6-5 in overtime. But then the other ones 4-0 and 4-2. Edmonton just looked completely overmatched. And it was the same thing that we expected from Edmonton all year. A team that was weak defensively and weak in goal, that didn't have what it would take to, certainly not to match up with a team like Colorado, but even, this is a team that I didn't think was going to make it out of the second round of the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to beat Calgary, but Calgary kind of crapped the bed in that series in the Battle of Alberta. And Edmonton played like that was their cup final. That was kind of how it came across. And, after the high of winning the Battle of Alberta to then face the buzzsaw that is the Avalanche, Avalanche only lost twice in these playoffs, both times to the Blues, who regular season standings, they were the number 3 in the West or number 4?
3, I think they finished at 3rd.
Yeah, I can't remember if they got. Let me look it up here.
They did. They were behind you.
Okay. Oh, they were 4th. So Calgary was 111, and St. Louis was 109. So yeah.
Third
third in the Central, 4th in the conference.
Right.
Other than that, the Avalanche have just dominated throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and you checked me on the tape last night. Our first show when we predicted who was gonna get to the Cup final, and dude, I mean, Colorado
show was so long ago.
I know, right? Well, you said it's episode 30. I had to bring it up.
Yeah,
but I mean, I had the Avs making it to the Cup final. I wanted to try and tweak it up just for fun. I kind of knew that wasn't going to happen, but dude, they are exactly who we expected them to be. Hell, they're proving to be even more than that, man. They just continue to come at you, and now it doesn't matter what team you are. Blues, Edmonton, Nashville. I get it. Nashville was a weak team, but dude, the Blues are a good team, as much as it hurts me to say, and Edmonton is a good team. Yes, a little weak defensively, and obviously Mike Smith was most of their downfall, which we all kind of knew was going to be the case. And dude, if I'm like mentally screaming for McDavid and Draisaitl at this point, because if you look at the playoff standings right now, and you just look at the just flat playoff point leaders, I know they're fresh off the sweep. They just got knocked out, but they are out of the playoffs. And McDavid and Draisaitl are 1 point off of each other at the top of the playoff standings right now. And the next closest person is Mika Zibanejad, and he's almost 10 points behind them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not very often you see that type of performance out before the Cup final.
Well, and I would think even if the Rangers make it to the Cup final, I don't know that I see, looking at the numbers right now, McDavid on 33 points, Draisaitl on 32. Zibanejad might get to those types of numbers, maybe. But I don't know if I see it. I look at what Tampa Bay brings to the table defensively and Andrei Vasilevsky. That's assuming that the Rangers even advance, and then you've got to play Colorado, who has been incredible defensively, but also, they'll have the weird game where they give up 5, and that's, you had your backup goaltender in net for that one. A healthy Darcy Kemper, a healthy defensive group, some time to rest and kind of get geared up for that run.
That's what they need.
I don't see Zibanejad getting there. If Tampa Bay wins and advances, maybe Kucherov gets to those types of numbers, but
I mean,
I just don't know how likely that is. Yeah, he's at 20.
He's at 20, so yeah, he's still a bit behind there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
just, I mean, it goes to show. I mean, every other team left in the playoffs, and now there's only 3. But of the 4 that were left, like Edmonton was the one that really wasn't spreading around the scoring as much, and that obviously was their downfall. Of course, obviously you had Evander Kane surprising everyone and popping off for 13 goals in the playoffs, and Zach Hyman too. Like he was really impressive as well. But again, between those 4, I mean, that's it. You had Nugent Hopkins kind of getting into the mix there too, but again, that's not going to get it done. And of course, when you stagger defensively and you have the fossil that is Mike Smith in that, you're going to have a bad time eventually.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take a look right now because I think if you're Edmonton, where do you really go from here? Looking at the team as a whole, they have some big free agents they're going to have to get signed and decide what to do with. Puljujärvi and Yamamoto are both restricted free agents. Evander Kane unrestricted.
Wonder if they
Mikko Koskinen is coming off the books, so there's that. But that's not going to, they're looking at, according to Cap Friendly right now, projected cap space of about 7.1 mil. That's not a whole lot of room to work with. And when you look at things like, I like Darnell Nurse, but he is not worth 9.25 mil.
He's making 9.2 mil?
Yeah, 9.25. He's making $250K more a year than Cale Makar. And respectfully,
what?
I mean, I like Darnell Nurse a lot. He's not
really
Cale Makar. He's not that kind of money.
He's really good. He's not he's not 9.25 million good.
Yeah, so that's gonna put a bind on what they can do to kind of build around McDavid and Draisaitl. Like they're gonna have to get really, really creative here. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if to get maybe a little bit of relief. I don't know what a Duncan Keith buyout would be, but that's $5.5 million on the books for next year. Do you think Keith is still going to be part of that team next year?
Keith might retire.
He might.
He's so beat up at this point. I think he was really hoping to maybe get this one last one and call it. I wouldn't be surprised if he retires this year. Yeah, he won't announce it until I think the Cup finals are over. But
I think looking at that, there's $5.5 million reasons next year why he wouldn't. But
I mean, I get it, but he's made enough money. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He's got nothing more to prove.
Yeah, but at this point, take care of your body more than anything else.
Exactly, and I mean,
think about life beyond hockey.
Yeah, he's taken a beating while he was with us, and I mean, the injury he sustained this year was pretty horrific looking. It was against us too, which was terrible. But I mean, that cap friendly stuff kind of might put a damper on what I was going to say. I'm starting to go Oilers for the bid again, but I went on record last night on Twitter and I said, I really think that Edmonton is obviously, this is now salary cap aside, but I don't know, man. I think they are a solid star defenseman and a solid star goalie away from the Cup Finals.
Well, and I'm taking a look here again on Cap Friendly. Where would this show be without Cap Friendly?
Cap Friendly, right?
Of the free agent goaltenders that would be available this offseason. And I've got this sorted by cap hit, so that does kind of give us a little bit of guidance on where to go here.
I already know why.
At top of the list, Marc-Andre Fleury.
There it is.
Second on the list, Mikko Koskinen. Third on the list, Darcy Kemper. Not necessarily great options. I wonder with Kemper, pretty good in Minnesota, but never really was able to be in a position where he could make the jump. Arizona, it looked like he made the jump and played very, very well, despite a shaky Coyotes team in front of him. Got to Colorado this year, and I expected really some incredible numbers from him this year, given how good Colorado would be in front of him defensively, that he really just needed to be slightly above average for them to be where they are. And that's kind of what he's been, is just slightly above average. The wins are there, but the save percentage hasn't been where you would think it would be. The goals against is higher than you would think.
He's not anything he's good. He's solid. He's definitely solid.
He's a starter in this league for sure. There's no argument there, but is he the answer to get Edmonton over the hump?
No.
If he's still letting in 6 goals in a game with Colorado's defense in front of him.
I'm pretty sure with Colorado's defense and, more importantly, Colorado's offense of keeping it out of their zone as much as they do, you or I could put up solid goaltending numbers.
I don't know about that. It's a big difference between floor hockey at Markin and making the jump to the NHL.
My point is the style of play that Colorado has. Like, you slot any goalie back there, he's going to put up at least halfway decent numbers because the puck is just barely ever in their zone. And obviously, you see when it is, sometimes they get scored on quite a bit. 6-5 game, right? 8-6 game. But that's what I'm saying. Like, he's a I don't know. Maybe I'll get yelled at for this one, but he's subpar at best.
He was this year, and especially during the playoffs. Like, I've got Natural Stat Trick up now, taking a look at his 5-on-5 numbers for the playoffs. Goaltenders with at least 100 minutes. So that does get, that's 5 games worth, basically. Or no, I can't even do math there. No, that would be like 2 games. 100 minutes. That doesn't seem like it would be a lot to get over. The 4 worst goaltenders at 5-on-5 with at least 100 minutes time on ice: Ville Husso, Jacob Markstrom, Mike Smith, Darcy Kemper.
See,
those are your 4.
To me, 3 of those 4. Okay, maybe 2 of those 4 are surprising.
Yeah, Husso
and Markstrom. Husso was hot, very hot, but he ran into the Avalanche.
Well, and before that, Husso was hot through the regular season, but then when it gets to the playoffs, and that's a different animal.
Yep.
He didn't play very well those first couple of games against Minnesota.
This was his rookie year too, right? Not every, right?
This was his rookie year? No, not his rookie year.
No.
But the first time that he really saw starting caliber minutes.
Not everybody can be, a 2019 Jordan Binnington or a
right
or a Matt Murray,
right? Making your playoff debut and cruising
and
through
destroy,
like
yeah.
But yeah, and then coming back in with Binnington injured, not a great spot for him to be in. Markstrom and Mike Smith right where you thought they'd be, given the Battle of Alberta and how many goals we saw in that series.
I thought Markstrom was going to have better numbers. That's what he was the surprising one. I know the Battle of Alberta, it's a lot of numbers getting put up, but Markstrom just did not play like he played in the regular season.
I really expected that we were going to see not only a deep run from Calgary, but after seeing them get bounced, I thought we were going to see Markstrom needs surgery or something like that. because what we saw in the playoffs was not what we saw from Markstrom in the regular season.
That's what I'm saying. But again, it's a different beast.
It really is. And then after that, you've got Darcy Kemper, who, he doesn't even have the most minutes out of anybody there on that list. Markstrom and Smith both have more minutes there.
Yeah.
So if you even rule out Husso, who has fewer minutes, he would be, third lowest in that category. His expected goals against is 14.89. Actual goals against is 18.
Mm-hmm.
Not particularly good numbers. Has an okay, I guess, 800 high danger save percentage. But again, that's really not great. Those aren't the kind of numbers you want. If Darcy Kemper is able to come back and be healthy, I think he certainly gives them the better chance to win, but I'm still really worried about this team as a whole. Even though they just dominated Edmonton the way that they did in that series, I'm kind of worried about where Colorado's positioned right now. And you look at the other injuries, Cogliano out, questionable for the Cup Finals. Nazem Kadri out for the rest of the postseason after thumb surgery. Samuel Girard broken sternum. Like, those are not, injuries that are particularly easy to play through. Then you throw in goaltender, is he injured, is he not, into the mix. It's a concerning position for Colorado to be in.
No, I'm not concerned at all. They were still able to do what they did last night without Kadri, without Kemper. Dude, they're winning the Cup. I don't care who makes it out of the East, and I've flipped a little bit lately just for fun. I'm sticking to my guns off of what episode 1 was. Colorado is taking the Stanley Cup. I don't know how many games it'll take, but it's their year. It is. I have seen way too much now this entire postseason of just what a absolute insane juggernaut they are, especially offensively. We talk about the defense all the time. Dude, they just come at you in waves, and it doesn't matter what the score is. They will keep coming, and they will find a way. They score the pretty goals, and they score the dirty goals. If you can put a nice 50-50 ratio of those together, you're in good shape.
Take a look at last night, for example. Who was it that scored the overtime game-winning goal? It wasn't Makar. It wasn't Landeskog. It wasn't McKinnon. It wasn't Rantanen. It was Arturi Lehkonen.
Who?
Granted, Makar had the secondary assist on the play, but Darren Helm had the primary assist.
And it's funny, too. Arturi Lehkonen is apparently a playoff monster because he also sent the Canadiens to the Stanley Cup final in overtime last season.
Yeah, I mean, you never know when guys are going to show up, but that's the great thing about the playoffs is, you can get these dominant performances from your stars, but it's when role players step up that it makes a difference.
That was such a cool stat. I completely forgot he did that last year.
Is Arturi Lehkonen going to become the next Justin Williams with playoff game-winning goals?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's already the only one in history to have back-to-back overtime game-winning goals to send this team to the Cup final.
Yeah, that's a pretty good stat to have.
That kind of puts him on a pedestal that's completely different of Justin Williams because he was Mr. Game 7. Unfortunately. Oh God, I just had flashbacks.
That's a lot of Avalanche talk here. Let's move to the series that's going on tonight. Puck drop there is probably about 40-ish minutes away. It's an 8:00 Eastern start, but that's how these things go. It's never at 8:00, at 7:00, whichever.
Yeah. It's usually like 10 to 15 minutes after the actual start time.
The Rangers, a 2-1 lead over the Tampa Bay Lightning, really looked like the better team through the first 2 games. Tampa Bay kind of looked tired. They looked rusted after getting some time off coming out of the second round, but they seemed to really find their feet in Game 3. A dramatic late goal off a beautiful feed from Kucherov to set up that game-winning goal with about 40 seconds left. Lightning going from potentially being down 3-0 in the series to now 2-1. If they can take game 2 tonight at home, that's a lot of new life left in this series. Joel, give me your take on the pulse of where things are at with Rangers Lightning, the series as a whole, and who wins tonight.
I would be lying if I'd say I wasn't surprised with where we're at right now, with the Rangers actually being up in the series. And hell, they had like having a 2-0 lead for a minute there. I wouldn't be worried yet if I'm a Rangers fan. 2-1. There was, if you really thought there was any possible way that they were going to go up 3-0 on the Lightning, I don't think you're paying attention. And you're probably just a Homer Rangers fan at that point. There was no way that the Rangers were going to go up 3-0. There was no way that the Lightning were just going to lay down after a 2-0 series deficit. With that said, like I said, I'm a little surprised in general. I thought the Lightning were going to just come out and be like, no, we're going to prove everyone wrong, and we are going to get our asses right back into the Cup final for the third year in a row, and we're going to roll over the New York to do it. But that's not exactly what happened yet. I think I'm riding Rangers, man. I'm sticking to my guns about Colorado. I'm sticking to my guns here. I don't think the Lightning are going to win another Stanley Cup this year. They're not going to three-peat. Maybe they make it again, but they're not going to three-peat. But I'm still sticking with the Rangers, man. I picked them when this series was getting ready to go. I think they're gonna find a way. I think it's going to be a bloodbath, especially if the Lightning can win tonight and tie the series, which I have a feeling they're going to. It's going to get nasty, and it's going to get a little stiff if and most likely when the Lightning tie the series up tonight. If I'm a Rangers fan, I'm a little worried.
Yeah, I think the big concern for the Rangers, kind of like what we just talked about a little bit, touched on it with Colorado, is the injury factors. We saw Strome leave game 3. We saw Gaudreau leave game 3 for a little bit. He did come back and return to the game, but that sure looked like a broken ankle on that diving block shot. He was still clearly in a lot of pain throughout the end of that one. You've got Sammy Blais, probably, Gerard Gallant saying he's doubtful to play, a long shot to play in this series. And we just don't necessarily see, Braden Point is out for Tampa Bay, but he's been out for a while, and Tampa Bay has just kind of continued the role, even without Braden Point, who could return later in this series. So in a way, the big horse still in the barn there for Tampa Bay. If they can get Braden Point back, that's a potential series changer if he's able to go. And I think if Tampa Bay gets to a position where it's, back to the wall, they're facing elimination, I wouldn't be surprised to see Braden Point return, even if he's not at 100%.
No, I'm with you. And I mean, this series has been very interesting. It's like you could tell that first game, you could tell the Lightning swept Florida, and they're already tired as it is, so they were probably getting a little too used to chilling out and watching the second round because they came out and got obliterated, right? 6-2, but then the next 2 games in the series were 3-2 finals. That's more of the goalie battle we expected between, the 2 best in the league, in my opinion, in Shesterkin and Vasilevsky. But
it definitely, both are top 5, if not top 2.
That's what I'm saying. I'm already throwing him top 2. I don't even care. But it's tough, man. Obviously I'm pulling for the Rangers. I want them to win tonight. I still don't think it makes a difference. Let's say the Rangers do come back out. And I mean, because they barely lost last game, right? Like you said, it was a late goal. Looked like even though the Lightning got their feet under them finally into game 3, they still were pretty damn close, right? They were very damn close to taking that stranglehold, and I'd love to see them do it tonight, but I don't think it matters. I still think Tampa's going to take another game, even if it's not tonight. It's definitely going to be the next one. And like you said, with their backs against the wall, I mean, there's no team I'd fear more than the Lightning when they're facing elimination.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay power play is at 25% right now. Rangers power play at 31-4. I really think that's what it's going to come down to is the special teams stepping up and making those plays. You know, Shesterkin stopped 37 pucks or 30. He had 37 shots against. So yeah, so 34. He stopped 34 shots throughout that game. Only one of those goals that beat him was even strength. So I don't know what the actual shot totals were for even strength versus power play, but you only let in one power or one even strength goal and you lose. That's tough as a goaltender.
Of last game?
Yeah.
Even strength.
Yeah, even strength. Total shots for the game was 37. So he stopped 34. Or am I off on my numbers here?
No. The final just total shots on goal was 52-30 in favor
Okay,
of
hang
Tampa.
on, because I'm missing something here. I may not have the right stats in front of me here, so that's fine. Well, yeah, okay. So let's go back to game 3 there. So yeah, so 50 shots against for the course of the game.
Right. And you're saying he only
ESPN has 52. So 52.
Yeah, so
he stopped 49.
Yeah.
Stopped 49 of 52. So maybe 37 was the even strength save number.
That sounds a little more right.
That could be what I saw.
Especially if the game-winning goal was the only one that came at even strength. So.
Yeah, so if he stopped 36 of 37 even strength shots and lost, like that
sucks.
But that's the kind of goaltending that we expected when we saw that we were going to get Shesterkin and Vasilevsky. And I just hate that the Rangers are this close to a cup. They're winning because of goaltending, and it's not because of Henrik Lundqvist. I so badly wanted Henrik Lundqvist to get one.
I'm with you, dude.
Might be my favorite player ever that did not play for the Minnesota Wild.
He's definitely my favorite player to never win a club. Never win a cup.
Words.
Words are hard sometimes.
They are.
I'm not drunk, I promise.
Allegedly.
I'm with you. But I think it's unfortunate too, man, because if the Rangers can actually do it, if the Rangers can slay the beast that are the Tampa Bay Lightning, it really doesn't matter because they're not going to win the cup anyway. They're not beating Colorado.
I don't know. I disagree. I think whoever comes out of the East is going to take this thing. I really do. I don't know.
I'm not going to look at you like you're absolutely insane or anything, but
the battle testing that both of these teams have had to go through to get to this point. The Rangers having to win on the road against Carolina in Game 7, having to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins they were down 3-1 in that series, had to rattle off 3 straight wins to get there. Then you look at Tampa Bay having to go through Toronto and win on the road in Toronto for Game 7. Then they get the President's Trophy winner in the Florida Panthers, and they sweep them. The quality of competition that both the Rangers and the Lightning have had to play, to me, it's a night and day difference between what Colorado's had, where they got to sweep Nashville, sweep Edmonton, and they played a tough series against the Blues, but that's your third best team in the division, fourth best in the conference. But then you get Nashville, who was 8, and you get Edmonton, who
were second, weren't they?
They were
third in the whole conference, right? Because they were second in their division.
No, Minnesota was second in the conference. Calgary was third, so Edmonton was 5th.
No.
So they got 5, 4, or sorry, let me back up. 8, then 4, then 5.
Oh, I'm not going to argue that Colorado's
Tampa Bay had 3rd in the conference, 1st in the conference, and a team that they were tied with in the standings.
I'm never going to say Tampa. Okay, in betting odds or in betting and Vegas eyes, yeah, Tampa was an underdog. Tampa's never an underdog.
No,
they're the reigning champs.
Absolutely not. Well, and
champs.
that's what I was saying here is both of these teams are so good and have been so well built that I think whoever comes out of that series, the adversity that they've gone through to get here.
I'm going to go the inverse because while I absolutely agree with you that the East has, or, the Rangers and the Lightning have had a much tougher task getting to the Cup final than Colorado. Colorado, I won't say they had easy streak, but it wasn't exactly that difficult either.
Easier than it could have been.
Exactly. I'm not disagreeing with you there. But they proved it. They proved the test. They were never once ever, scared of, oh my God, we're going to get upset. Like they still destroyed every single time they came out. Okay, they made it to 6 against the Blues, but that's because the Blues are that scrappy little kid that just won't stay down. I understand. But with all that said, even, you mentioned the Rangers had to deal with Game 7, against Carolina. Dude, they destroyed Carolina in Game 7. You watched that game, right?
That was a statement win.
They looked like they weren't even trying. It looked like a pickup game. Like they destroyed them. I'm not saying they didn't have adversity before that. All I'm saying is because of exactly what you just said, and it's a great point. I'll give you that. It's a great point. More adversity, obviously, they're going to end up most likely being the better team. They're way more weathered, which prepares them for a challenge like the Avalanche. However, I'm taking the inverse. They're taking the road far more traveled, which means by the time either of these teams gets to the Cup final, they are going to be battered and beaten. And Colorado's going to be sitting there ready to just keep hitting, keep going, and we're not going to stop until you're dead.
Bringing it back to tonight, at least, give me your pick for Game 4.
My heart says the Rangers, but I feel like Tampa's going to tie it up tonight.
Yeah, this to me, I'm the same way on this one. I think Tampa Bay wins tonight. I offered my pick on last week's show of Tampa Bay in 6. I stand by that. I did think the Rangers were going to take Game 1 just because of the time off. I didn't think the Rangers were going to take Game 2. And I'll admit things were looking a little dicey about halfway through the second period of Game 3.
Right, exactly.
But Tampa Bay, as the 2-time defending champion, they've got the poise. They've got the composure. They've been there before. They've been in that situation. There's something to be said for that kind of experience. And right now, Colorado doesn't have it, and the Rangers don't have it.
Now,
the Rangers have a ton of talent in their system. And I think this series kind of as a whole, looking at the big picture here, you're seeing the Lightning, who I don't want to say their window is closing, but it's certainly, they've been building to this stretch for years, and there's going to be a drop-off here soon. It's the nature of the salary cap era, is you can't keep all of those players together for all that time and continue to win. There has to be a fall off at some point. We saw it with Chicago coming out of their cup runs. We saw it with the LA Kings coming out of their cup runs, and LA ending up with a top 2 pick from the high of the cup wins to the low of picking second overall in the draft. It's going to happen at some point for Tampa Bay. Now, I still think they're a couple years off from that, but that's what we're seeing. The Rangers, on the other hand, their window is just opening up. And you look at the young players, Lafreniere and Kakko, who have stepped up throughout this playoff run, the kid line as a whole. You look at a young defenseman like Adam Fox, who, for my money, is probably the 3rd best defenseman in the NHL right now. I would take your pick between Cale Makar and Victor Hedman, 1A, 1B. I've got Fox at number 3 on that list. I think he's a better all-around defenseman than Roman Josi, who gets a lot of love on that list. There's a lot of guys that I frankly just think he's better than. And watching his all-around game, I really, really like what Adam Fox does when he's on the ice in all zones. He is so hard to beat one-on-one. He wins puck battles all over the ice. He's a threat to score. He's a threat to move the puck. the Rangers window is breaking wide open right now. And this series, I wouldn't be surprised if this is your Eastern Conference Finals each of the next 2 years.
I don't know about that.
I really wouldn't be. I mean, looking at it, we're going to talk about Boston here in a minute. Boston's window is closing. Pittsburgh's window is...
Our window's closed.
Oh, it slammed shut when they let go of Cassidy here. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But the Penguins, their window is closing. The Capitals' window is closing. Really, the only teams I see that could really be in the mix would be Carolina, depending what they do to manage their cap situation. And Florida kind of the same way. I don't have I should have called these up too, have the numbers in front of me, but the future cap situations for those clubs, it's not as good as what it is for the Rangers. The Rangers are sitting pretty well off cap-wise right now. And they have the young stars coming up through the ranks. They have the prospect system in place. To me, this series, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the case next year, maybe even the year after that.
Well, here's the thing. You kind of went on a random rant there. I was going to ask you what you thought if the Rangers somehow win tonight and go up 3-1, but it's
If the Rangers do go up 3-1, I think they probably take Game 5 and the series is over there.
Really?
I don't think that's going to happen, though. I really think Tampa Bay wins tonight, takes it 2-2, going back to New York, win Game 5 in New York, win Game 6 at home, and the series is over there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess
that's where I'm at with it. I know you're off on that one.
I don't know, man. I really believe in the Rangers, especially because I watched that. I think it was like a good minute 45 shift. Was it? I think it was the last game. It was Game 3. I'm pretty sure it might have been Game 2. The kid line out there against Tampa's number one D pairing and then first forward line, and they just would not give up the puck. And I'm like, that is their kid line, dude. That's Keandre Miller, Lafreniere, and who am I forgetting?
Kakko and Hedl too, centering that.
Oh
line.
Yeah,
Miller's been in there too. Yeah,
Hedl is friggin' ridiculous. It's just like
underrated player.
Extremely. He's probably arguably the most underrated player on the Rangers. But I mean, and that's their kid line, dude. That's their rookies. Then you still got the stars that shine, like Zibanejad, Panarin, Kreider, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I just feel like they are. No, hey man, maybe they're riding the heater, dude. Like they're killing it. I just think Tampa is starting to become that. You're right. I don't think their window's closed, or it's not closing yet, but they're starting to become that grizzled vet that his knees are starting to pop a little bit as he's making the journey versus the Rangers, who are just up and coming at this point.
The age and experience versus youth and skill. Although the age still has a ton of skill to that team as well.
No, of course.
There is that. Let's talk about the Boston Bruins. We mentioned them a minute ago. The big hockey news. This one was a big surprise to me. This one kind of came out of left field.
What is Bruins... up with?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Bruins firing Bruce Cassidy after 6 seasons. Boston made the playoffs every year that he was the coach. Each of the seasons where they played a full 82 games, Cassidy had the team at or above 100 points in that span. He had 107 points for Boston this year. I'll get him up here real quick.
Yeah, his win-loss numbers.
Yeah, just his Boston numbers?
Yeah, just his Boston numbers.
Give me just a moment here to look that one up. But really a big surprise to me. Here's his numbers with Boston. 399 games, record of 245, 108, and 46.
That's incredible.
That's a really good record. And one thing that I always say when a coach is fired is, who are you going to go out and get that is better?
I mean, dude, you're preaching to the choir, man. Like I thought the same thing when Coach Q was fired. Like, who the hell are you going to go get right now? And sure enough, we didn't get shit, right? So, this is another one bites the dust for me, though. Like I'm not saying I called this one. I may be 2-0 on coach firings. I didn't see this one coming.
Nobody really.
No one saw this one
To
coming.
me, it was a big surprise to see this one.
However, I say it's just under that another one bites the dust for me because in the world of obviously hockey, I'd even argue most sports, because we just saw Joe Madden get fired today. So it always comes down to, what have you done for me lately? And Boston, you're right. In his 6 seasons, they've made the playoffs every single season. They made the Stanley Cup final one of those seasons. But what have they done? What have they come out of that with?
I can at least, with the Joe Madden firing, the Angels have lost 12 straight.
Oh, so, no, I'm not saying
understand that
I get
at least a little bit, but
my point is there's always a scapegoat, and the coach is always the first scapegoat. And this is, I'm not saying this wasn't expected or this wasn't surprising. This was kind of crazy. Like I figured maybe they give him one more season at least before they start throwing the scapegoat card out, but they're also probably internally realizing we might be losing our captain, right? Bergeron might be hanging up the skates. What are we going to do with everyone else then, right? Like, do we keep Marchand or try and trade, or do we blow everything up? So they have all those talks going on. Meanwhile, they have to, again, they got to find a scapegoat, and the first step into blowing things up is always that coach who, while yes, has had great success, has not gotten you to the promised land.
Well, and Fluto Shinzawa with The Athletic reported that the Bruins may be exploring the trade market for David Pastrnak.
Right, exactly.
So, because he's got 1 year left on his deal, is he going to want to come back? Do you look into moving Marchand? Because the cupboard of prospects is absolutely bare. Boston has missed on several draft picks in recent years. They've given up draft capital to move for guys to bring in like Taylor Hall. But really, the system is not what you would want to be. They have a couple of guys that I do really like. Fabian Lysell, I think, is going to be a beast of a player, and he's a 19-year-old winger who's coming up through their ranks. I think John Beecher, probably, bottom 6 to middle 6, but I don't think he's going to be a first-line guy for Boston. Like, really, they need guys coming up through the ranks, and they frankly just don't have that right now. And if you're guys like Pastrnak and Marchand, why are you wanting to stick around knowing that for the next, probably, I would say at least 3 years, Boston is not going to be in good shape? You look at the injuries for next year as well. You look at Charlie McAvoy being out for months. Let me just read a couple of these off here. Bergeron, elbow surgery. Mike Riley, ankle surgery. Charlie McAvoy, shoulder surgery. Brad Marchand, hip surgery. Matt Grzelcyk, shoulder surgery. Jacob Zaboral, knee surgery. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of people who are going to be out of the lineup long-term for surgery. So,
man, it's not. I'm still convinced they're going to start blowing things up like right now. I feel like you lose your captain and Bergeron, they're going to just, and again, they also, got bounced. They got bounced in the first round again. It's like, dude, something's got to give, and I think they can't just keep going into the playoffs and not coming away with anything. Like,
well, and here's the other crazy thing too. Like 3 years ago, Cassidy had those Bruins 1 game away from a Stanley Cup win.
I know. Oh, I'm not agreeing with the fact that the coach should be the scapegoat, especially when they're that successful. What'd you say, 245 and 108 or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Like that's insane. You don't, but again, that's the nature of the business, especially lately, and especially in hockey. That, I called the first 2 coaches this year, and this one it falls under that bucket, although I didn't expect this one. Like, it falls right under that bucket, man. Like, you haven't won us a cup. You got bounced in the first round the past 2 years now. And, if you haven't done anything for me lately, then we're going to have to relieve you of your duties because we need a fall guy while we figure what we're doing with our player personnel.
Yeah, and you look at everything that the Bruins had to go through this year too, with the Tuukka Rask. Is he coming back? Is he not? What's his status going to be? Kind of having to juggle 3 goaltenders throughout the year, having key players missing big minutes, and then seeing especially all of those injuries. And he still found a way to get that team to 107 points. He's going to land on his feet. I don't know where he's going to go next, and I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it because I would think, to me, he and Barry Trotz are in very similar situations of coaches who are very defensively sound. They're coaches who elevate. I look at a team. Yeah, no,
come.
Cassidy is not the coach that goes to a team like Chicago. I know you want a good coach. I get it. Cassidy is not the type of coach that goes to Chicago and builds them from nothing to being a contender. He's a coach who you bring in when you have a good team in place, but need that extra push to get over the hump. He's not the type of coach that takes you from bad to good. He's the coach that takes you from good to great.
Just saying, man.
I'll bet you $20 he doesn't end up in Chicago.
I'm not saying it's going to be him. I'm saying now there's 2 out there that I'd like.
I'm saying neither Trotz nor Cassidy will sign with Chicago.
Trotz has more of a chance of coming here than Cassidy does.
I have more of a chance than Trotz or Cassidy.
No.
They're not going.
Hey, man. That's your Minnesota Wild.
I'll up the number. I'll up the number. I'll make it $100.
Wow.
I'll throw $100 on it right now. Neither Cassidy nor Trotz will be the next Chicago Blackhawks coach.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
Do you want to take that bet?
No. Why the hell would I take that bet?
I'll give you 10-1 odds. If they both go somewhere else, if they both go somewhere else, you pay me $10. If either one of them signs in Chicago, you get 100.
But no. I'm not saying they're gonna sign here. I'm just saying, come on over.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Whatever. We'll move on. We kind of teased on Twitter, Kevin Fiala trade talk. I think we'll just table that.
Oh boy, here comes the wild talk.
No, I said we're gonna. Did you not listen to me? I just said we're gonna table that for next week.
Hey man, I was gone for a week. I got to give it shit.
Pay attention. Pay attention.
We've been agreeing
it's your time
with each
to
other.
Shine, man. It's 2 minutes for roughing.
We've been agreeing with each other all show. I had to give you shit in some way.
Let's see if 2 minutes for roughing changes that at all. This is your first time tuning into the show. This is how we like to close things out. Taking 2 minutes to rough up whatever topic we want. Joel wants to rough me up for 2 minutes right now. He's getting pissy over there.
Excuse me, not pissy.
Okay, well, what are you going to do? Throw a water bottle at me then?
Hell
because
yeah!
It's your God-given opportunity to do so.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, I got jokes.
Can you believe there's still people out there that are saying that Kadri did that shit on purpose?
I can't believe it. Like you can't take the Homer glasses off. Watch that play in a bubble. Kadri is going after a loose puck that Jordan Binnington put the rebound a foot outside of the blue paint, dead center of the net. Exactly. And you gotta expect you're gonna get hit in that situation. It's the worst rebound control I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
And we just watched a Mike Smith series, for crying out loud.
Oh God. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm throwing cheap shots at everybody at this.
Usually
point.
That's me.
Yeah, right. This is weird. We just kind of switched off a little bit here. I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 minutes on the clock for you here. Are you gonna tease the topic at all, or are you just gonna jump right in?
Not really sure I have a topic, but I guess I'll figure it out in the next 10 seconds.
Well, yeah, you got about 10 seconds here to figure something out. I tried to put you in the show notes beforehand and give you a little bit of a heads up as to.
I'm a happy person, man.
Give me something from your trip to Vegas that had you fired up.
I wasn't mad about anything in my trip to Vegas. I came away with money. Like, that's a win.
That's true. That is a win.
You know, I think I got something.
All right. Well, let me know when you're ready to go, and I'll count you in.
Good.
Let's do it.
I kind of already teased it in the show.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. You're up.
Remember at the beginning, or not the beginning, but earlier in the show when I said I'm mentally screaming for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Well, now I don't have to mentally scream. Now I can actually scream for them. It has actually been, and I mean, Dan has seen this, and if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen me ranting about it on Twitter. Like, everybody is a Connor McDavid fan. Draisaitl is in here too, but this is strictly about Connor McDavid, who is the absolute best hockey player any of us who are alive right now have ever watched. And yes, I'm looping Gretzky into that. Hot take. Anyway, it's been so fun, obviously, to see the success that they had up until getting swept by Colorado, but it's just been so infuriating to watch Connor McDavid have a playoffs, and he's been damn good in the playoffs pretty much every season he's been in it. But this year in particular, man, when you put up 33 points in the playoffs and you were only 4 games into the conference finals and you're at 33 points, you're consistently scoring. You're putting up overtime series clinching goals and everything. Like, you are doing everything in your power, and you are literally personifying putting the team on your back, and you still come away with nothing. You don't come away with that big prize. You don't even make it to the finals to even try to get that big prize. It's just been so infuriating to see how an organization cannot build around the arguably, another hot take, potentially the best player to ever lace up a pair of skates in the NHL when his jersey is all said and done and hung up in the rafters, wherever he ends up, because I don't think he's going to stay in Edmonton if everything I'm saying continues to hold true and he keeps getting held back by Mike fucking Smith and a subpar defense other than Darnell Nurse. Dude, just somebody get Connor McDavid a Stanley Cup. This man deserves it.
37 playoff games for Connor McDavid.
Oh, you pulled this up for me. Thank you.
21 goals, 34 assists, 55 points in 37 career playoff games. Time on ice of 23 and a half minutes. And he's a plus 17 in the playoffs. Not that plus minus is the best stat in the world. It's not. But It's a pretty useful stat in that situation to show that despite putting up 55 points, that the man is a plus 17. That tells me something about the defense and goaltending when he is on the ice.
I like Eddie Olczyk's take on the plus minus category. It's overrated if you're minus. It's actually awesome if you're plus.
I mean, the usefulness of that stat is to show the extremes at either end. Either the extreme plus or the extreme minus, because most players over the course of a season are going to end up realistically between about a plus or minus of maybe 15-ish is probably about right either way. The bulk of the players in the league are going to fall within that zone. There are some extremes where it will be way more. There was a year that Alex Ovechkin scored 50 goals and he was a minus 39 on the season.
That was before he picked up his defense.
That was before he started playing defense. And look at what happened once he did. But Connor McDavid's defensive numbers on his own are still pretty good. But again, looking at how they're built as a team and the roster that has been assembled around him, like, they're going to trot out Mike Smith as their starting goaltender next year. They signed him to a 2-year extension last offseason after he couldn't get the job done. Then looking at what he did this year, and then now next year, he's 40 right now. He's going to be 41 during next year's playoffs. That's not a goaltender who's going to be able to get you over the hump. Like, Edmonton,
he never has been able to. He still won't.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
It's infuriating. I don't know. Everyone can probably go with me on this one. They have so much fun watching Connor McDavid and just the emotion in his face when he puts up these huge goals, especially the one that clinched the Battle of Alberta. Like, it just, you got to feel for the guy. And he's such like a really cool person off the ice too. He's the model citizen out there in Edmonton, but like, dude, he's got to, if I'm him, I'm at least in my mind thinking about, if you're not going to trot out a better goalie and you're not going to start putting a couple maybe better defensemen around, like, I don't know what else you want me to do. Get me the hell out of here.
He has 4 more years left on his current deal. That's a ton of term in today's cap era.
Mm-hmm.
So
what is he,
if he wanted to trade,
mil?
Say what?
He's 13.5 mil, right?
Each year? 12.5 is the AAV, but there are years where the actual dollar amount goes well over that. So, so there is something there. But beyond that, you don't get players like McDavid very often. And I understand if Gretzky can be traded, anybody can be traded.
I agree.
But you also have to consider that Gretzky was not traded within the salary cap era.
Right.
These are much different terms now to make that kind of a trade than what was the case when Gretzky was traded. And Gretzky got a haul when they moved him. To get Connor McDavid now, especially with the 4 years left on his deal, you're talking years worth of first, second, third round picks, all of your top prospects. I mean, that's what it would have to take to be able to make that move. And at that point, realistically, like, I don't see a scenario where he is out of Edmonton prior to the last year of that deal.
Oh, I absolutely agree.
I wouldn't necessarily think that he wouldn't be moved at the deadline, but we're seeing with Connor McDavid, to a degree, what we saw with Ovechkin early in his career when Ovechkin was continually putting up 50-goal seasons, and it's, well, why aren't the Caps able to get over the hump and win the cup? It's tougher now than what it was for the early part of Ovechkin's years, but I think McDavid has elevated his game even further than what we saw with Ovechkin, to the point where it's an even more extreme example.
That's what I'm
because
saying.
McDavid is doing all of the right things. He's scoring goals. He's playing defense. And in terms of an all-around game, he's a better player.
He is, yeah.
And oh God, it's just crazy to me. Like, I understand with when you look at players, you talked about it earlier in the show, best players to never win a cup. Henrik Lundqvist being on that list, Roberto Luongo being on that list, the Sedins being on that list, Marcel Dion being on that list, guys who really were the face of their teams for a long time, who couldn't get over it. I would absolutely hate if Connor McDavid ends up on that list.
If Connor McDavid ends up on that list, like, he is the best player to never win a cup, and it's not even close.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, the discussion is over right there.
No, there's no point in even making a ranking of it, because he's there. That's it.
All right. Well, speaking of that's it, I think that's probably it for tonight's show. We do want to mention that In the Green Bets is coming up next on the Sports 2.0 network. So you can head over to their Twitter page, find things out there. They've always got good golf coverage. So especially as more playoff teams are hitting the links, kind of like where Connor McDavid might be right about now. It's going to be about a 5 o'clock tee time in Edmonton. Go get your takes from the In the Green Bets guys. Those guys are awesome, and they do a great job. But that is it for tonight's show. Thank you, as always, to Noob Sports and the Sports 2.0 network for giving us this platform to get 30 episodes in. Joel, you've been along the ride for most of those 30 episodes as well. And really, it's been fun. We're cruising right along. The season is sadly almost over, but next week's show, we're going to get to talk Stanley Cup.
Woo!
So that's something to get excited about. That's something to be hyped for. So we have a great show in store for next week. We hope to see you right back here then. Same time, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Joel, let them know what time that is Central.
6 o'clock Central, all day long. Actually, it's only for an hour.
Well, we'll see you right back here at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central next week. He's Joel. I'm Dan. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.
There's no water in here.